All right, everybody, welcome to the very first episode of the Pokemon Purveyors, a weekly podcast where we take you all on a journey into all aspects of the Pokemon TCG. If you guys enjoy everything from collecting, investing, and the competitive play arena, then you have come to the right place. My name is Shad, and I am just one of your hosts here. I am also joined by my fellow purveyor, fellow Pokemon enthusiast, Jules. Jules, how you doing, buddy?
Wow, man, the excitement. Guys, my name is Giuliano, aka Jules. Me and Shad have been working very, very closely together to get this podcast ready for you guys to bring you, like he said, anything having to do with investing, collecting, and all things Pokemon. So I'm just super pumped that we pressed that record button and we are on our way, hoping that you guys will enjoy these podcasts going into the future.
Yeah, and like Jules said, guys, we are so excited to bring you this new content. I've been hinting at it, previously about bringing long form conversations surrounded around things that most people are, most interested in when it comes to the Pokemon TCG. And that's really the collecting and the investing side, with the popularity of the Pokemon TCG growing tremendously over this year. We really wanted to bring you guys another piece of content that could really bring you more education. So I think the best way to start is to just basically give you a little synopsis of what our plans are for this podcast. And essentially, it's just that we want to bring you really valuable content. Like I said, if you're interested in collecting, if you're interested in investing, or even the competitive play side, we really want to bring you the best information that we can. Jules and I have both been in the Pokemon card hobby for quite some time, and we really want to share with you guys just our knowledge, our quote unquote expertise around this subject, and really put you guys in a better position to really enjoy this hobby to its fullest. Now, our plan is it's not just going to be just Jules and myself for every episode, even though, I'm sure you all would love that, to see our smiling faces. But we want to definitely bring on guests on this podcast, different content creators, different investors, different collectors, people that can also share their knowledge and their expertise relating to this hobby. That way, you guys have a well-rounded approach. You guys have a well-rounded way of diving into this hobby, especially if you're new. And I know many of you out there are probably either new or getting back into the hobby after maybe a long hiatus. So we really want to bring you guys the best content that we can around this subject. And so I'm just super excited. And Jules, what do you think, man? I mean, it's really cool to finally see this coming to fruition.
Yeah, I totally agree with that statement and pretty much everything you've said. Guys, we're here. We're here for you guys. We're here to listen. We're here to provide information. We're here to have fun. It's not always going to be crazy serious. We're here to have fun. We collect. We enjoy all of this. We're enthusiastic about it. The energy is going to be hyped, especially when we're going to bring on those guests onto the podcast. I know that we're gonna be looking for some of the big guys, but even some of the small guys. Guys on my channel. I'm a smaller guy. We're still not the massive people that are out there, but you know what, guys? Small or big, everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a right of speech. Everybody has something to say. So, guys, we're open to everybody. This is not just for big people. It's not just for small people. It's for everybody and for the whole Pokemon community. For Shad to have reached out to me, it was an honor. I'm super excited to get this done, and it's I've been looking forward to this for a while. So I appreciate
Size
the opportunity.
doesn't always matter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if you guys are asking yourselves, okay, like who are these guys? Like, where did they come from? I feel like maybe one of the best ways to start is to just give a little bit of background on ourselves. So As I said, my name is Shad, but you probably know me better by my channel on YouTube, which is under the umbrella term PokeNav. So I go by PokeNav on YouTube. Started a channel earlier this year in 2020. Really saw that there was a need for more information in regards to mainly the investing side of Pokemon. So I started my channel back in, I believe it was May of this year, and have thoroughly enjoyed the experience of being on YouTube and creating content. And also one of the things that, I wanted to do, and I know Jules wanted to do as well, was to create a podcast, more content that we can put out on this subject in a different way. So prior to YouTube, I started with Pokemon in the very beginning, much like Jules. We're about the same age. We started in that Generation One group, late '90s, early 2000s, and have been involved with Pokemon pretty much ever since. But it was really for me in about 2016 when I sort of reignited my passion specifically around the TCG. And at that time, I was a financial advisor. That was my career, and was doing very well as a financial advisor. And I found Pokemon again. I found the Pokemon TCG. Was just looking through YouTube, watching some videos, and came across some box openings, and didn't even realize that much of this product was still out there. And I'm speaking mainly of vintage products. Started seeing guys like Leonhard, guys like TCA Gaming, Primetime Pokemon opening up vintage booster boxes and booster packs. And it just absolutely gave me that nostalgic bug once again. And, being a finance guy, I also saw that there was potentially an opportunity here as well. That, these products were so old and so rare that there couldn't be that many of them still out there. And, just kind of speaking from a supply and demand standpoint, I thought, man, this could really be a good opportunity. So it was really around that time in mid to late 2016 that I started buying and selling and trading in the Pokemon TCG, and actually kind of building a business for myself around that. And, over the last few years, it's really been a great experience for me. I've got to meet a lot of really interesting people. And, through that, I decided that I would finally kind of bring my knowledge and experience online and share it through the medium of YouTube. So that's when I started my channel, and, have just, thoroughly enjoyed the experience of being online, being on YouTube, and meeting so many new people. And that's actually how Jules and I met. Was I had started my channel, he started his just maybe a few months after, and we connected and got to talking, and realized that we shared a lot of the same interests, kind of shared a lot of the similar mindset around Pokemon, and more specifically the TCG. And that's when we said to ourselves, like, I think we need to take it a unique route. We need to take it onto a different platform. And that's when we decided to go ahead and create this podcast. So it is, quite a few months in the making. So to finally, like I said, sit down here and actually be recording is really special. And I fully expect to, have really great conversations. Jules and I, we talk a lot just outside of Pokemon and everything else. And geez, I mean, over the last few months, we probably could have just had 10 podcasts in and of themselves, just with the conversations that we've had. So that's just a little bit of background on me. Jules, why don't you give us the anthology of the one and only Collecting with Jules?
All right, thanks, bud. So basically, guys, yes, like I said at the beginning, my name is Giuliano. I go by the AKA Jules. I also have a YouTube channel. It's called Collecting with Jules. And as you can see from in back of me, I don't just dabble in Pokemon. I do collect pretty much all things collectible, whether it be comics, statues, Pokemon cards, commemorative coins, silver, just anything fun and collectible that I like to see. So guys, pretty much like everybody around the 25 to 35-year-old range back in 1999, Pokemon hit the shelves. The craze was real. The craze is real, just as we are right now, hitting that. What are we on? 25 years now? No,
Going on
going
25
on
years,
20.
man.
Yeah, it's crazy, crazy. So Pokemon 25 years went through a hiatus, just like everybody else. Pretty much, most of the people got back into it in 2016 for a brief moment. Back into Pokemon, collected a bunch of stuff in 2016. Did not get the XY evolutions, unfortunately, or else I would have just stocked up on that stuff, right?
That's
But I
right.
got I got that Steam Siege Master set. I got all the sets that nobody cared about, unfortunately. But fun nonetheless. And we find ourselves here now. I took another break, like I said, between 2016 and now of Pokemon with the pandemic happening. I said it was a great time. Like Shad, I saw a bunch of videos again during 2016 and also now. And I said, you know what? Let's do this. Let's get out of the comfort zone. Let's do something fun. Let's give information out. I'm gonna be more coming from the collecting aspect of things, guys, because just like in Pokemon, happens in comics, happens in statues, happens in so many things, ups and downs. So me and Shad together, I think, is going to be a dangerous duo. And that's why we called this podcast the Pokemon Purveyors, because we really want to give you guys the knowledge necessary to both collect and invest in this hobby. Because at the end of the day, guys, you collect what you like. But in order for you to collect what you like, you need to have that financial aspect to it, because you have to understand what you're able to buy. So, guys, together, again, me and Shad, we're going to be a dangerous duo on here. It's going to be fun. I'm super excited again and look to the future. I know we got some good things planned going forward.
Yeah, very, very well said, man. Very well said. And like Jules said, we really want to bring two different aspects to this podcast. Jules, I think, is more kind of well versed in the collecting side of Pokemon, and I'm probably a little bit more well versed in the investing side. But what we want to show you guys also is that there's been kind of this schism that a lot of people have perpetuated, that that there should only be collectors when it comes to Pokemon, or the investors, that they're just in it for money and things like that. But what we have found, guys, is that these two different individuals are really one in the same in a lot of ways. They're really one in the same, and in many ways they also help each other out. Many investors bring products to the market that eventually end up in somebody's collection, and collectors have a tendency to turn investors on to products that they might not have known about. So to me, it's a very symbiotic relationship here. And I think that's why, Jules and I have gelled so well, is because we do come at it from somewhat unique perspectives. But we respect and we also enjoy that other aspect of the hobby as well. And we understand that as important. Now, for those of you out there that also like the competitive side, now I don't know about Jules, but I am not well versed on the competitive side. So that's really where having the guests on is going to be vital for us, because we also want to bring that aspect to the podcast as well and really share that with you guys, because we know there's a lot of people out there that enjoy the competitive arena. And so we want to make sure that you guys are well positioned in that particular aspect of the TCG as well. So, for the time being, guys, it's probably just going to be Jules and I on these episodes. But we already have things in the works of getting, some pretty big name people on. And as Jules said, it's not necessarily about just getting the big name individuals on the podcast, because we know of several people out there, whether they're content creators, collectors, investors, who are not well known, relatively speaking, but they can offer a lot of insight into these different aspects of the hobby. So that's really our plan. We want to make sure that we bring on guests, but if it's just the two of us, we will have conversations that are pertinent to what is going on in the TCG, right now, and kind of moving on into the future. So I think for this first episode, now that we've gotten the pleasantries out of the way, kind of you guys are a little bit more familiar with who we are, where we come from, and really why we started this podcast. One of the things that we wanted to discuss in this first one was basically the absolute craziness that has gone on this year with Pokemon. Starting from January until now. This episode is dropping in mid November. So we're almost through 2020 already, which is crazy in and of itself. But really, just to kind of discuss everything that's gone on this year and kind of give some perspective on that, and also kind of give you guys our opinion on where things are headed, where we actually see the hobby heading. And one of the things that I get comments on all the time, over on YouTube, I get comments on all the time is, do you think that there's going to be a crash? Pokemon prices, the prices of cards for many products have shot up 300, 400, 500% over just this year alone. And so many people are worrying, are we going to reach a point where these products that they have in their collection, as part of their investments, is it all going to come to a head and come crashing back down? So I guess before I give my take on it, Jules, from a collector's standpoint, I just want to get your take on what you saw this year and how you've been rationalizing it.
Yeah, so definitely interesting. Pretty sure a lot of people would probably use that word to describe what has happened this year, from the worldwide pandemic to the absolute worldwide craze and phenomenon of what we call today Pokemon. Coming from a collector, as soon as I don't know why I still feel, as soon as Logan Paul made that announcement that he was into the game, things were ready to change, and change they did. Let me tell you, the last 2.5 months, 3 months, or whatever the case is, has been a whirlwind of emotion for me as a collector, especially because I also watch some of your lives, right, Shad, on YouTube, and what you say is very, very true in terms of the collector sees something pass as an opportunity that is being lost, if you want to call it, because it's just become, you cannot afford what is happening in terms of all the WotC product pretty much anymore, unless you buy them in singles cards and you buy them not graded, or because now the booster boxes for a collector, maybe you would have been lucky, you might have found something for $5,000-$6,000. You would have been able to make a purchase, save up a couple of months, whatever the case. But as of right now, in terms of collecting, collectors want to hold on to their things. So that money, that hard-earned money, will be gone. And now you, as a collector, really need to think, where do I want to focus my collection? Should I focus it on one specific Pokemon? Should I still try to keep collecting everything? But definitely, this price spike has definitely impacted collectors alike, especially ones that are on a budget. You can still collect on a budget. That's absolutely fine. And with the shortages of Pokemon product and the new stuff now, the old stuff is hard to attain, and the value is so high. The new stuff is hard to get. So you're kind of stuck in the middle as to what you want to actually still collect. So that's pretty much my take on it. And I've been back and forth on what I still want to collect. I'm still not 100% certain at the moment. I still keep collecting everything whenever I can. But the price spike has definitely played a role in slowing down the buying process for me.
Well, and, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, man, but I remember you talking about it in one of your videos, is that, you need to collect what you want to collect. So, there is also this idea that, maybe collectors or even investors for that matter, that they need to collect like these certain items. Like in order to be a great collector, like you've got to have that first edition base set Charizard, to somehow be, validated, but that's not necessarily the case. And I think one of the main things that we've learned through this year is that you really have to hold true to your own of what you truly love. And if you're somebody that you want to have a first edition base set Charizard in your collection, then by all means, it's going to be really difficult because of the way that the prices have spiked. But I think it's a good time, now that we're getting to the end of the year, to really kind of reevaluate if you are a collector and say, well, what is it that's actually important to me? And I know I talk about it, from the investing standpoint, but I'm a collector as well. And, for me, I've never personally had this fascination with, some of these big top tier cards, Charizards and, these sealed, really expensive booster boxes. Like, I love, just kind of more esoteric type of products. I was just talking about the other day about promo cards. Like, I love, especially some of those, from like 1999, those kids WB promo cards for Pokemon the first movie. Like, those are so nostalgic to me, and they really, they harken back to my childhood, and those are the type of things that I really like to collect. Now, granted, if there's probably going to be products out there that you as a collector really want to get, that are going to be, expensive and perhaps outside of your price range. And I think that's where, the investing piece of it can come in and can really help someone, is because you can actually create a business around investing in Pokemon cards. And you can turn around and you can reinvest that capital, the profits that you make off of investing in Pokemon cards, and you can reinvest that right back into your collection, right back into the products that you truly want to hold on to for the long term. And I think that's a real important differentiating factor that a lot of people have to consider, is that you can look at it from, basically a means to completing your collection or furthering your collection. But for me, from what I have seen this year, over, when I started in 2016 compared to now, it really is head and shoulders above, what we have seen in the past. I thought that last year at the end of 2019 was crazy when we had Hidden Fates and there was all that craze around Hidden Fates. I thought, wow, I don't know if Pokemon can get, bigger than this. I don't know if it can get more popular than this. And we did have a lot of unique factors, working, I would say, to the benefit of Pokemon this year. You had mentioned it earlier with the pandemic, a lot more people at home, a lot more people, bored and just wanting to, basically go back to their childhood, find the things that they really enjoyed from their childhood, because it was a stressful time all around the world. So I think that was one thing that led to this surge that we're seeing this year. And then on top of that, you can't throw out the fact that we have had a lot of big name people that have
That was
entered,
big.
however
That was
brief
big.
and cursory, they have entered the hobby. And I think for them, they might have seen an opportunity, to maybe capitalize on the popularity of Pokemon. But I think also, this is a time when many of us there are kind of having this coming of age with Pokemon. You know what I mean? Where we've all, a lot of us are from that Gen 1, maybe Gen 2. And now we've reached a point where we're all grown up. We've all kind of gotten more disposable income, and we can actually we have the means to spend on these type of products. And so I think you're seeing that. You're seeing a lot of people come back into the hobby because they, like much like myself, didn't even realize that much of these products were still out there.
Yeah.
And they really want to, share and remember the things that they had when they were children, when they were kids. And nostalgia is a powerful force. It's very it gets all of us, and it doesn't even have to be Pokemon. Whatever it is that brings you back to a simpler, more innocent time, nostalgia, it'll get you every time. And so I think that's essentially what we're seeing here. And I the other big thing that a lot of people have been asking about is, where does it go from here? Can it continue to go up? and for me, at some point, there's got to be a plateau. Like with any market, there's going to be some kind of plateau, a crest and a trough. Um, and I think as we move into 2021, I'd like to get your opinion on it because I personally don't see it slowing down. I thought maybe the end of next year, but now with everything, the 25th anniversary next year, I don't really see it slowing. Really, I want to get, your opinion on, where you think this is going as we move on into next year, into 2021. And, we go through a whole nother year of potentialities with this hobby. I'm interested to see where you think it's going.
Yeah, so there's so many possibilities of what can happen, right? So let me take a step back. This year, crazy year. I don't think it could stop right now. I really don't think it will stop right now. It will not stop in my head. I don't know why I always say it. July, August of next year, still seeing a climb. Possibly by end of next year, maybe seeing a slight flattening of the curve, if you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that is that just next year is you say it all the time, we say it together, massive year next year for Pokemon, for Japan, the heritage, like Tokyo Olympics,
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon's 25th anniversary. They're doing so well this year. Like the only way that it doesn't work out for Pokemon next year, I don't think, is they're not able to produce enough because of the pandemic. Let's say still looming, and they're not able to pump out enough cards. But other than that, I don't foresee it slowing down anytime soon, and especially not next year, February, March, April. That's just going to be the ramping up time until is it June? The Olympics are in June or something?
I think so. Yeah, they're usually around that time, June,
July.
July.
Yeah,
Summer
exactly.
Olympics.
So
Yeah.
maybe once the Olympics is done, possibly, but can you just imagine, like you were saying, the promo cards, right? Like people sleep sometimes on promo cards, like they sneak around, you never know which one to get. You try and get all of them, but you need to collect what you like and what you find good to put in your collection.
Mm-hmm.
But can you imagine the promo cards that are going to come out next year
Oh man.
around the Olympics? You're gonna freak. I know you love promo cards, so I'm sure you're gonna have a heyday with that.
Yeah. No, honestly, man, I'm so excited to see, because with, the Olympics supposed to be this year, in 2020, I imagine that should they actually transpire in 2021, should we actually have them, I know Tokyo is going to go all out. And, Pokemon is, in my opinion, they're going to capitalize on that. They're going to see an opportunity where the world has come together, after all of this has transpired with the pandemic and, everything that's gone on, the world coming together once again around one single event. Pokemon is arguably one of the biggest brands out of Japan, bar none, one of the biggest brands.
Agree.
And so that Pokemon is going to have their face on everything that they possibly can for that event. And I honestly think, like, promo cards, I would love to see, I talked about this before, but I would love to see like a Usain Bolt pose on like a Pikachu or something like that. Or, if they tied the promo cards around like specific athletes, maybe like a certain characteristic that particular athlete has, and then like maybe take the Pokemon and kind of mold it after that, like maybe a diving Pikachu, or maybe a Charizard on the gymnastics rings. I don't know. You can go a million different ways with it. But I'm super excited to see what comes out for the Olympics.
It's possible that gets done though, right? Look at what's going on now with the in the UK with the futsal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, with the futsal.
Specific promos for what's happening technically in a certain region, country, whatever the case is. So your point is extremely valid, I believe, and they can definitely get that done, especially that it's 25 years. Like next year will be even more crazy than it is right now. Like it has to be. Like they already, if I'm not mistaken, also they start releasing their championship schedules for the
Oh, I think they
TCG.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did. I think tentatively they're releasing them, just in case it doesn't actually transpire.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I think they're really building up for a big year, and we also know, that 25th anniversary set that we're going to be getting in February. It's basically going to be Shiny Star V. We already know that. We already know that Shiny Star V, which is the set that when that will have dropped actually by the time this episode goes live. But it dropped on November 20th in Japan, and there is already a huge amount of hype around Shiny Star V. I mean, an enormous Shiny Vault. I believe like well over 300 cards in the overall set. So
That's
it's going to
crazy.
be a big, massive set, huge Shiny Vault. And that's basically going to be our 25th anniversary set. But I am predicting it now that not only is Shiny Star V going to be in our 25th anniversary set, but I think they're going to include more. I would not be surprised, and I want to call it now. I would not be surprised. Now,
Call of the
2021.
podcast here from Shad, guys,
Here we
live
go.
right
Yeah,
now. Here we
call of
go.
the podcast. So 2021 is officially 20 years since the release of Neo Genesis. So the Neo era. So I am calling it now that we will have reprinted cards in an evolution style, like we got with evolutions and base set. We will get reprinted Neo cards in the 25th anniversary set.
Agree. That's it. Mic drop. Boom.
Mic drop.
That's
Yeah.
100%.
And
I
I've been,
agree with that. Has to.
I've been talking about it for a while. Like, a lot of people ask me, do you think that we'll get like another base set, like another reprinted base set? And I usually ask them like, well, why would we get that? I mean, we've got base set, then you've got base set 2, which is a reprint of base set Jungle Fossil. And then you've got Legendary Collection, which is a reprint of base set Jungle Fossil Team Rocket, basically everything up to that point. And then you've got Evolutions, which is, the reprint of base set. So I feel like, base set, those, first generation cards, they've kind of run their course. I feel like at this point, like if you reprinted them again, I just really don't see any reason why. But I could definitely see them going to Neo. I could definitely see them going to Generation 2 and doing an evolution style set, which is essentially a reprint of the Neo series. What I would like them to do is, rather than just reprint like Neo Genesis, I would like them to just take, cards from each set: Neo Genesis, Neo Destiny, Neo Revelation, Neo Discovery, and, just create kind of a master set of all of those cards. Get my reprinted Shining Mewtwo.
Oh my God.
I mean, how awesome would that be?
That would be crazy. How, like,
well, and I think also, it's like I said, like it's the 25th anniversary. They're paying homage to the very beginnings of the brand. But I think, you can also look and say, okay, now it's been 20 years since the release of Neo. Now, granted, I can't remember the year that it was actually released in Japan, but I know for sure Neo Genesis is 20 years since the release in English. So I would not be surprised if we saw something like that. And honestly, I would be super, super excited. And I think if you thought that Evolutions was successful and basically broke records, I think if they reprinted something like this, it would just be off the charts, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Just bring back Lugia. I'll be happy. It's all gonna be good.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sure Rhyme Style is gonna be really, really ecstatic with that too. For sure.
Yeah, and you can get it at a much lower price point.
My God, can you imagine a T7? Like, just picture all the holographics, guys. Just close your eyes. Picture every single holographic from the Neo generation. Every single one just being reprinted, okay?
Mhm.
You make a regular version, you make a holographic, you make a reverse. There's got to be what? At least 100 cards that you can put together. I'm
Oh
just
yeah, for
very
sure.
very minimalistic there on that number, but you can make a full set with just all those cards and everybody was going to lose their mind. Just make 3 of
Mhm.
each ones and you got to collect them all. Just
Well,
like
and you make a good point there, and I didn't even think about this, but reverse holofoils of those cards.
legendary
You know,
style
I
collection. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
legendary collection style,
Wow.
just all those different types of cards, the Shining Mewtwo. Well, and not only that, that was in the Neo era was when we saw the introduction of like the dark type Pokemon, metal type Pokemon. So imagine seeing the holofoils because we don't have the reverse holofoils for those types, from either evolutions or from legendary collection because those types hadn't been created yet.
True.
So
Yep.
imagine seeing a reverse holofoil on some of those cards, which I was just looking today at some cards that I'm going to be submitting to BSA. And I've got some metal type Pokemon from the Neo era in there. And I forgot like how cool those cards look. Just those metal type cards just look awesome. So I think if we saw reverse holofoils of those, yeah, I think it would just be a massive hit.
Much
But
better than
that's
Shiny
that
Star Vault and all this stuff coming up now. It's so
exactly.
much better.
But I could definitely see it, man. I could definitely see them putting reprints of Neo in there. I mean, I think truly that the Pokemon Company, they listen. I think a lot of the time people think they don't listen to any of this stuff. But I think a prime example of that was Pokemon Snap 2. Like people had been
Yes.
calling for Pokemon Snap 2 for years and years and years. And everybody thought there's no way they would ever do that again. There's no way. I think, people thought it had its time and its place. It was relevant for that time, but I don't think, they didn't think that kids would find it intriguing nowadays. And there we go. We've got essentially Pokemon Snap 2. And I think that is a prime example of Pokemon listening to their community. Like, okay, what do they want? They seem to really want this. And I think Pokemon has also realized now that they are serving a much older demographic than what they were accustomed to for the last 10 to 20 years. They were
Yes.
used to serving the demographic of young kids. And now they understand that there's a lot of us man childs out here. There's a lot of us out here that still truly enjoy this hobby. And so I think it's been really good for them because now they know that they can appeal and create products for that different demographic.
Yeah, just to touch on I'm going to throw you back some finances. You just said they listen. If the client is happy, then the company is happy. Why? Because everybody spends money. And the
Hmm.
more money you spend as a consumer, the more money Pokemon makes, the better things Pokemon can come up with. There's a reason why Pokemon is up there in the top. I feel like it's like 90 billion. Aren't they worth somewhere around that? 90 billion or
Oh yeah,
92 billion?
yeah, they're up there.
They're there for a reason, guys. They
Hmm.
listen, they understand. They must have massive teams of marketing people, of uh, research and develop. Guys, they're champions at this. They're around for
Hmm.
25 years for a reason. There's just
Yeah.
well-oiled machine. Okay, mind
Hmm.
you, what are we gonna say? Between Wizards of the Coast and then they took over, and then they kind of lost a bit of steam until what 2009ish,
Hmm.
2010. They finally started making their way back up there, but last 10 years just solid, especially the last couple of years and all the modern things. As much as people might say modern, get in, get out, and then collect Watsy stuff and this and that. But guys, Hidden Fates, oh my god,
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah.
radicalizing the market with that
Yeah.
product. It was
Well,
unbelievable.
and not just that, but I mean, you even look through 2020. Some of these sets, they're we kind of scoff at like Sword and Shield base set, Rebel Clash, Darkness Ablaze. But there were some beautiful cards in that set, and they really set a precedence for things to come. You know, the type of cards that they had in there, some of those full art cards,
Yeah.
just absolutely beautiful. And I think they're constantly innovating. You know, that's the thing about Pokemon is they're, like you said, they're trying to appeal to their consumer base. So they're trying to one up themselves uh, consistently and trying to give people what they want. And I think it's just only going to get better as we go along. And in some ways, I was thinking about this just the other day. It's kind of baffling to me. You know, you have this hobby of trading cards, which I guess if you were to fast forward, you were in 1999, you fast forwarded to 2020, you would say to yourself, nobody's going to be interested in trading cards at
No.
that point. Kids aren't going to be interested. I mean, you've got all this technology out there that can, consume one's attention, but yet the TCG trading cards, not just Pokemon, but really TCGs in general, are still massively popular. And I
Everybody likes
think that,
shiny stuff.
yeah, people like shiny stuff.
Shiny
Apparently,
paper,
shiny
shiny
stuff in the form of
cardboard.
cardboard.
Exactly. Perfect winning
So it's,
combo.
yeah. Well, then you couple on top of that, the fact that there are a lot of us who, I would say for our generation, in previous generations, you had people that like to collect stamps, people that collecting and I think garnering things from an earlier time has always been a part of the human experience. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Something from the past. It's really bringing something from the past to the present. And even if, you're a collector and you're not collecting in vintage products from back in the day, you still get that same feeling when you're opening up modern products. I can open up Vivid Voltage and I can still get this, maybe not the exact same, but a very similar feeling to opening those packs that I did when I was a kid. And then if you have the opportunity to open up those vintage packs, there's just nothing like it. It
It's
immediately takes you back to that time. I mean, and the funny thing is, it's all of your senses really kick in because you open those packs of cards and that smell. It's like 1999, 2000, whatever year. It's like that is the smell that comes out of that pack, and it's like it immediately takes you back. And I think that's why you're still seeing this hobby so massively popular. And I think also why you're seeing more and more people flood in, because they've also realized that from an investment standpoint, it's an appreciable asset. It's growing. They're getting rarer, especially WotC products. They're not; these are not going to be printed anymore. The supply is going down. Demand is going up, and so I think you're seeing that from many people's standpoint. Whether you're collecting or investing, you understand that these products, they're not going to be around forever, and especially when you look at sealed products, they're only going to become more and more rare. And so that in and of itself is exciting and draws people in.
the adrenaline rush. That adrenaline rush of the hunt, like for anything, guys. So I'll go into a little tangent here, going looking for comic books. Let's say in a comic book bin, you find that one hidden gem, that diamond in the rough, that book that's worth not even thousands of dollars. We're gonna call it $100 in a $1 bin, because that happens in comics, right? There's $1 bins,
Mhm.
25 cents, 50 cents. Your heart, you start getting butterflies. I start getting red in the face when I see something that's out of place. It's happened to me. It's the best
Mhm.
feeling ever. So if you need to translate that into Pokemon cards, the only way to do it, yes, oh, I found the base set pack and you purchased it for $1,000. Okay, fine. But if you buy new stuff too, that day where you go and open that seal and you go and do the card trick and you see that last card and you pull something crazy on that last card, it's the same exact feeling. The thrill of the
Mhm.
hunt. You're hunting for those cards, you're hunting for something rare, and even if you don't find it, at the end of the day, you're having fun doing what you love. You can't ask for better than that. Like
Hmm.
it's so enjoyable. It's crazy. It's crazy what collecting has done for me in the last 5 years, because I collected when I was young and then I completely stopped. But in 2015, got back into, like I said, commemorative coins, money of the world, comics, and it's so addictive. I don't know,
Hmm.
like for you too, like there's I can't explain why it's addictive. Like I don't know. There's got to be a release in the body. Someone's out there, maybe a doctor, endorphins. I don't know what it is, but it's it's
Well,
crazy.
I think it comes on it is addictive on many levels because on one hand, it's like you said. Well, in some ways, it's kind of like gambling, which yeah,
Uh,
I'm not advocating gambling to anybody out there. Okay, guys, I'm not advocating gambling, but in some ways, it does have that same kind of thrill of you don't know what you're going to get when you open up a pack, or if you have the luxury of opening an entire booster box, um, you just don't know what you're going to get in there. So there is that unknown, that thrill of the unknown, much in the same way that a gambler gets the thrill of not knowing if they're going to hit big or they're going to lose out. So it's the same thing here. Then on top of that, you have that nostalgia attached to it, where this is something that really was formative in your childhood. I mean, for people I think that are just getting started now, not to say that this isn't a great time to be involved in the hobby, but if you were back there in the late 90s when this was all starting, um, everybody will tell you almost the exact same story of just how crazy it was back then. I remember back in the day that you could not get booster packs off of shelves. All of the stores, my Targets, my Walmarts, even card shops, they did not have them hanging because they were so afraid that kids were
yes,
going to steal them, because it was pervasive. There was so many kids that were doing that, or adults, that were that were essentially stealing it, to either hold on to it themselves or to give it to their kids.
still happens now.
Um, Still happens now. Still happens now. But it was on a completely different level, I think, back then. And for me, I remember distinctly that most of these stores, you had to go to the customer service counter, and they had the booster boxes and the packs and everything, theme decks behind the counter. And then you just told the customer service representative, hey, I'll take a couple of those, whatever. But they did not have them out on shelves. And eventually, after a few years, then that kind of hype and mania started to die down, and
Yeah,
they were starting to put them back on shelves. But man, I'll tell you, 1999, 2000, it was a crazy time, and it was a fun time to be a kid. So I think that is also coupled with just this kind of thrill of the unknown, and that's what brings people back again and again, to this. We've seen so many things die out. You saw Pogs die out, you saw Beanie Babies die out, you saw all these, even I would even, I'm probably going to make a lot of people mad when I say this, but even like Magic the Gathering, which was, very popular back in the 90s, it hasn't seen the same kind of resurgence that Pokemon has. And I think that just lends to Pokemon being able to adapt to their current demographic, to their current consumer base. Um, and, just the fact that I think there was more of us back then that were collecting Pokemon, than some of these other card games.
that
So I guess
craze,
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
that craze back in 1999. A quick anecdote also of that. My local comic shop that brings me in all the product that I ask for of Pokemon, whatever the case is. He tells me all the time whenever I walk in, always the same story, just to remind us back how crazy it was, and to say, are we in that type of period currently? And I'm pretty sure we are. But
Mhm.
he said he would have people line up outside the comic book store, not even 4-year old, like we're talking parents 30 years old, 40 years old, because their kids wanted Pokemon cards. They would line up at the store before it was open. They would walk in, and when they would get to the counter, there would be 10 people all fighting to get those packs from those brand new booster boxes. He couldn't even stock them quick enough. People were
Mhm.
pushing each other, people were hurting each other. It was and it wasn't even like people were not spending within their means. We're talking about, dad, I'm 5 years old, I want that, and it's like, okay, let's go. Let's get 20 packs. This kid is going to be super excited. He's going to stop talking for a couple of weeks, and then a couple of days goes by, and you as a collector from when you were a kid, right? And still to this day it's the same thing. Once you acquire something, you're like, on to the next thing. What's
Mhm.
next? Always what's
Yep.
next, that thrill,
Always
that
what's
seeking.
next.
It's crazy.
Mhm.
Anyways, that's that was
Yeah,
just, it
yeah.
would be fun to
No, it's
say
true, it's
that.
true, and it's all part of the journey, you know what I mean? I feel like, more than the actual, acquisition of these cards, a lot of the time, it's the journey to get them, and the experience that goes along with that, of getting these cards, and the people that you meet in the process, and I think that's something that a lot of people that resonates with a lot of people, is that this hobby has a unique way of bringing people together, whether it's competitively, whether it's collectors, whatever facet, it has a way of bringing people together. I mean, think about it. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this hobby. We wouldn't have these conversations. We wouldn't, have become friends, if it wasn't for this hobby. So I think it does have a unique way of doing that. But that kind of leads me into my next topic of discussion that I wanted to talk about here today is, with everything that's been going on, people talking about, well, what's next? What should I collect? What should I invest? I'm interested to get your take on what's on your radar right now from a collection standpoint or from investing. What products, whether graded cards, sealed products, what is on your radar right now that you're looking at?
For me, I think I've pretty much decided that I'm gonna look for the Watsy stuff for sure. Stuff coming out next year, 100%. The, actually, what's really funny is that I was able to acquire the Hidden Fates Pokeballs collections, still brand new sealed at retail about a month and a half ago. I asked my local comic shop to order me. I said, just try it. Let's see if it comes in. And he showed up 2 weeks later because the first week after we ordered, they're like, no, doesn't exist. And somehow he showed back up the next week after that, and it was on his pallet waiting for him to pick up. And he was like, what's this? They're like, didn't you order this 2 weeks ago? And he's like, oh yeah, it's true, exactly, I ordered that. So he took it back, and when I got to that store, I was so ecstatic to have found that. I was freaking out. So I'm actually looking for the super premium collection Hidden Fates box, the red one with the Rayquaza giant card on
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah.
I'm looking for those still. Um, Watsy stuff. I know there's another gaming store, card store in the south end of the island here in
Hmm.
Montreal, basically, that just acquired a massive collection. I think he told me he paid like $180,000 for the collection, including most of it coming from Magic the Gathering, but a small
Hmm.
portion, about 25 grand, back when he made the original deal, basically. And now is worth probably 60 to $100,000 basically of product. I acquired some of the product, but Watsy, old holographics, or even regular. Like now I bought a full set also of base set. So I got three full, one shadowless, and two regular unlimited base set, and the rest of the stuff at this point is probably gonna be what's coming out in 2021. That set,
Hmm.
that 25-year anniversary set in February, that's probably gonna be the big boy for me. Probably gonna
Hmm.
spend a lot of money on that for sure. um, and then maybe the Tokyo Olympic stuff if they do make promos like
Yeah,
that, man. That's
yeah.
really cool. What about you?
Hmm. So, from kind of two different perspectives. So, from a collection standpoint, one of the sets that I've really been focusing on lately is Gym Challenge and Gym Heroes. And the reason being is that for some reason, I kind of skipped over that set, those two sets when I was a kid, and I don't know why. They're beautiful sets. There's a lot of really cool cards in there, but for some reason, I just did not collect those as a kid, which is ironic because most people our age, that's kind of the sets that they left off on. A lot of people didn't even go into Neo, and that's really like for me, like I got big into Neo when I was a kid. Like I loved the Neo sets, and even not just the cards themselves, but like the pack arts and just everything about them. Those are by far and away like my favorite sets of all time is the Neo sets. But I skipped from Legendary Collection to Neo, and
Hmm.
I just bypassed those Gym Challenge and Gym Hero. So from a collection standpoint, that's kind of where I'm focusing most of my efforts right now. Is getting some of those cards from there. Would love to get the Rockets Mewtwo, which if you guys don't know, Mewtwo is my favorite Pokemon, so I really want to get Rockets Mewtwo. I don't know if I necessarily need it in a PSA 10. I know those are going, they're not nearly as much as the Shining Mewtwo from Neo Revelation, I believe is what it is. But that Rockets Mewtwo, definitely would like to get that. But even a lot of the common and uncommon cards in there, like for me, a lot of people like Gym Challenge better than Gym Heroes, just because that's where the Charizard is. There, arguably there's more valuable cards in Gym Challenge than Gym Heroes. But for me, my favorite gym leaders from that first generation are in Gym Heroes.
Heroes.
Brock, Misty. I love those cards. So those are kind of some of the ones that I'm looking at. I also like the Sabrina's cards as well. All the Psychic type Pokemon. So from a collection standpoint, that's kind of what I'm looking at, focusing more on right now. I mean, investing, it's still a good investment as well. I mean, really anything WotC is.
Hmm.
But from collection, definitely that. I'm also really interested, and I've gotten more interested over the last couple years in Japanese products. Just the what I have found, and I'm sure you found this as well, is that the quality of Japanese products is really head and shoulders above the rest of the world, and from what I found. So I like the thought of collecting something that is a little bit higher quality to begin with. So where you don't have to worry about a lot of those potential errors, especially if you're buying cards raw that you want to get graded. I think Japanese is a good way to go. So I've been focusing more on Japanese products, Japanese. They're not Wizards of the Coast, but of that era type of Japanese cards. Um, and then also, just like you, I'm excited to see what comes out in this year, and definitely going to be looking for some of those little hidden gems, that come out, because you find time and time again that it's those little like one-off products that nobody really talks about, that nobody really recognizes, and then 5 years down the road, that's what everybody wants. So this year, or moving into 2021, that's kind of what I'm going to focus on, is trying to find those hidden gems that don't have a whole lot of notoriety. Scoop those up, and then from an investment standpoint, and I've talked about this before, but the series that I've really been looking at is Black and White. Yeah, exactly, exactly. You
I
gave it
got you.
away.
I got you.
But yeah, Black and White, I think that series is really sitting in, I call it like the Goldilocks zone, because you've got WotC that's getting so, I can't say it's overpriced, but it's just getting out of range for most people. It's getting out of range for me too. I wish I would have held on to a lot of the stuff that I had, from back in 2016. But you live and you learn, because
Exactly.
I was I didn't heed my own advice, and I saw that there was like, there was kind of a little bit of a boom. There was a price increase. I was like, oh wow, like I got to capitalize on this. And now, looking back, I'll give one example. This actually just recently too. I was talking about it on a live where just a few months ago, I don't even think it was a few, it was maybe a couple months ago, they had base set unlimited booster boxes going for about 8 grand. About 8 grand. And my dad, my parents knew that they've known that I've been into this for the last few years. And then they also knew that I'd gotten into YouTube and content creating, things like that. And so I called my dad and I said, hey, and I did it more so because I kind of wanted a little bit of like a bonding type of thing, something that we could go in on together. And, he was the one that bought me all of my packs as a kid anyway. So I thought, kind of be reminiscent of that. I said, hey, if you want, I'll go in half on this booster box with you. We'll go in half. I really foresee this at the very least doubling within the next year. And he's like, he's old school, and he's like, I'm
It's
not gonna
cardboard.
invest
Why
in
you're gonna?
something. It's cardboard, yeah. Like, how do you know anybody's gonna want to buy that? Why would anybody spend that price? And I tried to explain it to him. He's old fashioned. He's old fashioned stocks and bonds type of guy. And he passed up on it. And I said, well, you know what? I said, I could have picked it up, but I said, I don't see it going of 10 grand within the next 6 months, or probably 4 months. I don't see it going over 10 grand. So I'll just let it sit. Well, I don't know if any of you have checked lately, but those booster boxes are now going for well over 35,000. 35,000. So that is just a prime example of sometimes you give better advice than what you actually heed. So, and so that is something that, and I got off on a huge tangent there, but WotC just getting out of range for most people, especially base set, Jungle Fossil Unlimited, Team Rocket Unlimited, still, in the relative price range for some people. And then you start going outside of WotC and you get into the EX era. Many of those booster boxes, sealed products, are even more than Wizards of the Coast. I was looking at a Delta Species booster box the other day. It's going for over 25,000 at this point. That's where all the Gold Star cards are. It's just crazy. Then you get into Diamond and Pearl. And, Diamond and Pearl is actually not bad right now, in my opinion. I think it's starting to get to that point where it's getting pretty pricey. But then you've got Black and White. And there's, arguably there's better sets in there than others. But that was the first series where we saw full art cards. That was the first time we saw full art cards. And that has honestly set the precedence for Pokemon cards ever since. Since 2010, really. It's really set the bar for what Pokemon cards have become. You've got the Plasma series in there, Plasma Storm, Plasma Blast, Plasma Freeze, all really great sets. And a lot of these booster boxes sitting under, they probably won't. Maybe once this podcast drops.
You're giving everybody the secrets. You're giving everybody the secrets.
Exactly. But they're sitting under 3 grand at this point. And I think that, we're starting to get to that point where a lot of those Black and White sets are getting to like that 10 plus year time horizon since they were released, which, to me, a long-term investment is anything 10 years and beyond. So I think they've kind of got to that point. And so that's really, from an investing standpoint, that's where I'll be focusing more of my investments, is probably on Black and White. Some of the early X and Y, I think also. Flashfire, that has grown tremendously. Did a
That's
video
a nice
on
set.
that. It's like, I think of the products that I was reviewing, it had grown the most. It actually, to be honest with you, if you do it from just a growth rate perspective over this year, Flashfire has grown more than first edition base set. Crazy, right?
Wow.
Yeah, because first edition base set at the beginning of the year was about 80 grand. The most recent sale was at 375,000. To my knowledge, I don't know of any others that are any more. But Flashfire, I believe at the beginning of the year was sitting at, I think it was about 400, maybe
Something like
$300
that.
at the
Yeah.
beginning of the year, and now is encroaching upon close to 3,000 for a booster box. So from a growth perspective, Flashfire has actually grown more. I mean, obviously, I would much rather have a $375,000 booster box grown from 80,000. But also your barrier to entry is a lot less for something like that with
Yeah.
Flashfire. And so essentially that's what I'm looking for in black and white as well, is I'm looking for those sets that kind of are poised to pop off to have that same kind of growth cycle. And like we were talking about earlier, with everything that's going on in 2021, I just don't see it slowing down.
No.
I just don't see it slowing down.
To touch on your point, if I wanted to go investment, I just gave a collection, just a quick thing. The Japanese band cards that were fixed when they came over to North America, basically, like the Grimer that's looking up the skirt, and the Misty's Tears card and all that stuff. That's some stuff that I'm still looking for as well. That's getting quite expensive, especially when it's graded, but grading is a completely different story after. But for me, I think my cutoff is early XY right now, because I don't see myself spending $5,000 US. I'm in Canada, so it's $7,500 or $6,500 Canadian on a booster box. To me, it's the ship has sailed on that one. I think the early XY stuff probably is my cutoff. Unless I win the lottery, then it'll be a different story. But we'll be partying in different ways as well with that. We'll just be like money everywhere,
cards everywhere, raining cards,
just raining down. How many Charizards? You get a Charizard. Everybody gets a Charizard, guys. But yeah, just wanted to put in the financial aspect of what I'm looking at too for the future.
Oh yeah, well, and it's funny that you mentioned those band cards as well. Now, I am actually not too familiar. Does PSA and Beckett and all of them, do they grade those cards? I haven't really looked into the band cards that much.
I think they do. I don't know why. I feel like I was scrolling through eBay doing like you're going to check it?
Let me just take a look real quick.
Okay.
Let me just see if I can find any out on the open market. I'll just look up like Misty's Tears. That's a really common one, like you were talking about.
I think they're graded. I feel like I was going through eBay about a couple of weeks ago and I saw my brain was minded on I need to buy one of these cards. I never ended up. I think they're there. Yeah, they're expensive.
In fact, PWCC Auctions has one up right now that will be ending in 8 days. That'll be on the 25th of November. And they've got it listed PSA 10 for $270.
There you go. Look at that. That's
so, and that's honestly, like you were talking about, like for the card itself and it being a band card, that's actually honestly seems like a pretty good price to me. For a card that, by all accounts, is super exclusive. I mean,
perfect investment to me. I don't know.
Japan.
Yeah, exactly.
I think.
You cannot have this card ever, guys. Like they redid it to the North American. Like the only way to do it is to buy it on the secondary market. Like it's I don't know. It seems pretty investable to me. If that's a word.
There you go, guys. There you go. There is your big nugget for the night coming from Jules himself. Banned Pokemon cards. That is probably the next thing to pop off. That's really crazy, and it's funny that I haven't really looked into banned cards that much because that definitely seems like a good price for a card like that,
especially at a 10.
Especially a 10.
Only growth from there. Can't get lower. I don't see it. 10s. 2 10s. How many 10s can there possibly be? Okay, fine. Mind you, it's a Japanese card. The quality is better. Okay, but nonetheless, a 10. Yeah. It's like everybody's The 10 is the perfection. Like,
Yeah, I mean, the pop reports on that have got to be super low. I mean,
I would
I'm
think
sure we
so.
could check it out, but I would imagine that the populations on cards like that would be super low. Um, yeah, that's a really good one, man.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. But but yeah, guys, so that is pretty much what we are looking at for the upcoming year, both from collecting, from an investing perspective. So yeah, man, I think that is probably a really good note to end on here tonight. More or less, guys, we just wanted to give you in this first episode a little bit of background on us, a little bit of a taste of how Jules and I interact, and a little bit of taste on what you can expect with the podcast. But moving on into the future, guys, if you haven't done so already, be sure that you go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube. So both Collecting with Jules on YouTube, PokeNav on YouTube. We also have a YouTube channel as well. So if you are listening to this podcast out on iTunes, Spotify, any of those other podcasting sources, we also have a YouTube channel as well. Just search the Pokemon Purveyors on YouTube. You can find us there. We will have the video versions of this podcast on our YouTube channel. So go ahead and subscribe to us there. And then on any of the podcasting platforms, Spotify, wherever you're listening to us, do us a favor, go ahead and leave us a review as well, especially on this first episode. Help us
Yeah.
climb the charts if we can. Obviously, the more reviews that we get, the better the reviews. The podcast can be broadcast out to a larger audience. And then moving on into the future, guys, for future episodes, we want to hear from all of you. So, as I said, follow us or subscribe to us on YouTube, but also Jules and I both have Instagrams. So, for myself, you can find me on Instagram at Pokemon_navigator. Jules, where can we find you?
Guys, super easy, collecting with Jules on everything.
On everything,
On
making
everything.
it easy. I wish I could get PokeNav on Instagram, but unfortunately that name was taken. So I had to go with Pokemon_navigator. But guys, definitely follow us on there as well. We will be giving you guys updates on both of our YouTube channels, on our socials as well, talking about upcoming episodes, talking about guests. And we also, as I said, want to hear from you guys. We want to get questions that you have that you would like answered here on the podcast. So, again, whether it's related to collecting, whether it's related to investing, or, as we start to get more guests on that are more proficient in the competitive arena, we want to get your questions on all of those areas so that we can answer it here on the podcast. And we will probably make that a regular segment at the end of the podcast where we answer questions from the community. So, guys, again, thank you so much. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for giving us the time. I really think that we've got great things for you guys in the future. And as I said, we will try to get the best guests on that we can, both big and small, to really give you the most holistic podcast that we can. Jules, anything to add before we sign off, brother?
That's a pretty you hit the nail on the head with that one. That was a great way to segment out of this first podcast. I enjoyed this time. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this as well, to see that camaraderie, the interaction between Shad and I. Just a little reminder for the questions, if you have to and you can't get onto YouTube or whatever, you can shoot me a quick email. I will send it to Shad as well. We'll stay in touch. Don't worry about it. We got you guys covered. Again, collectingwithjules@gmail.com. Easy as that. Like I said, collecting with Jules everywhere. And Shad, again, thank you so much for picking me to get this done with you. And I'm super excited to go ahead here with you on the journey here on the channel and the podcast.
Yeah, me as well, man. And then one last thing, guys, it actually reminded me with you saying that we also have an email address as well. So Pokemon.purveyors@gmail.com. You can also send us your questions on there as well, if you're not on Instagram or any of those other social platforms. But Jules, hey man, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun, and I know you're looking forward to it. I'm certainly looking forward to where this podcast goes in the future, and we are looking forward to having all of you along for the ride as well. So, other than that, guys, we will see you on the next episode. My name is Shad. This is Jules. We are the Pokemon Purveyors, and we will see you all next time.